Hi, I'm Lynn. Welcome back to Cooking with Lynn. I'm in my kitchen again, baking this time for the Cumberland Library. And today I'm making apple pie. Good old-fashioned apple pie. Who doesn't love apple pie? Okay, so I'm going to tell you what you need. We're going to start out with the crust. I'm going to make my own crust. You certainly can buy a crust. There's no problem with that. Nobody needs to know. But I'm going to make mine. It's super easy, and it usually comes out pretty good. All right, so I'll tell you what you need for the whole thing, and then we'll do the crust, and then we're going to have to let the crust rest in the fridge for an hour, and then at that time I'll peel my apples, and we'll get going with that. So, yeah, for the crust, flour, butter, water, cold water, very cold water, cold butter, and apple cider vinegar or regular vinegar. And a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar. You don't have to put sugar in it, but I put a teaspoon of sugar in mine. Okay, so that's the crust. And then obviously for the filling, you need apples. I have, I use Granny Smith, and these are tiny, so I bought six. I have 6 of those. I have a couple of these, I forgot what they are. Cosmic Crisp, I think. You want something kind of nice and crisp. And I don't know what this one is, but I have a little bit of a variety here. You don't want like Macintosh. Some of the softer apples tend to get mushy, so you kind of want the apples to still have some integrity in the pie. So I mean, you can probably use a mixture of Macs if that's what you have, but you kind of a variety is good. If you can get like Granny Smith or Honeycrisp or something like that, that would be good. And so you need brown sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, lemon juice, salt, flour. Did I say flour? You need flour for that. You need flour for this, and an egg. And the egg is just for an egg wash for the top, and the lemon is just to keep the apples from turning brown. So I'm gonna stop talking and get baking. So I need, first of all. So I'm going to cheat and use my food processor for the crust, because using a pastry cutter or forks to get the butter incorporated into the flour can be pretty time consuming. So I'm just going to cheat a little, and there's really nothing wrong with that because it works fine. So I need 2.5 cups of flour, and this is going to make 2 crusts. So you need 2 because for an apple pie you have a top crust. Not all pies have a top crust, but an apple pie does. Typically, I don't know if I've ever seen an apple pie that didn't. So that's 1.5. Nice and level. Okay, I'm just going to throw in a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of, is this a teaspoon? No. And a teaspoon of sugar. Probably shouldn't measure it over the thing, but let's throw caution to the wind. And my sugar is over here. Just a teaspoon of each. And so we're going to throw the butter in, and I cubed it so it will incorporate into the flour a little bit faster. If it's, you don't want to throw a whole stick in there, that would be kind of silly. And you want it cold again. So it's going to be super quick. So what you're going to do is pulse it until you get like sand, pebbles kind of thing. So let's have a look. My plug is over there, so it's pretty well incorporated. Just till the butter is all incorporated in there. And so a lot of recipes will tell you how much water to add, and it needs to be cold water. but I add it until it comes together. So you really have to kind of watch it. So it's about a half a cup of water for this size recipe. And I'm also going to add a little bit of vinegar. And I don't even remember what that does, but I think it helps make the crust flaky. And you don't have to, that's totally optional. But so I have like a cup of water here. I've got ice cubes in it so that it'll keep the water nice and cold. And I'm probably going to use about a half a cup. So I'm going to just turn this on and I'm going to drizzle this in. Actually, I don't want to get the ice cubes in there, so let's get those out of here. And just drizzle it in. Feel it. You see how it came together, and I need it to be able to stick together, and I think that's perfect. I used just about half a cup, maybe a little bit less. I'm going to just put my teaspoon, just pulse that in. It's not going to taste like vinegar, don't worry. How that all came together. That is perfect. So let me get rid of this because I need to get this onto my board. Maybe. And again, I'm going to refrigerate this twice. I'm going to refrigerate it now for an hour, and then after I get it in my crust, my pan, I'm going to refrigerate it again, and that helps to keep it from shrinking in the pan when it's baking. It's kind of depressing when you bake your pie and then you take it out of the oven and the crust is all shrunken, and that's happened to me. You know, it happens. It's not the end of the world. Nobody really cares except you. Just get it all together, and then we're going to divide it in half and wrap it separately. And we'll roll out one crust at a time. That looks pretty even. Just cut it. I'm going to wrap it. I didn't bring out my wrap. Grab my wrap. All right. Love this thing. You should get one. Cut it. Just wrap it up nice and tight. Going in the fridge. And actually helps if you put it back into like a disc so that when you're rolling it out. So when you're rolling it, you want to avoid overworking it so it's not tough and it doesn't shrink. If you activate the gluten too much, it's gonna shrink up. So let me fix that. I got a little cavern there. There we go. That, and that is that. So that is going in the fridge for an hour. I'm gonna, clean up a little bit. I'm gonna peel my apples and slice my apples, and then come back and we'll finish up. Okay, I'm back, and while I was waiting for the pie dough to get nice and cold, I peeled my apples and I diced them up, sliced them up. So now I'm going to roll. I left one crust, in the refrigerator. I'm going to do one at a time. And sometimes when you first take them out, they can be a little bit fussy to roll out because they're so cold, but you just have to persevere. I'm going to roll and turn. And you want to make it, so this is my computer wants to do tasks. Okay, this is my pie plate. You can, obviously do it in a regular glass one or a metal one, whatever you have. turning and rolling until it's the size you want. Don't worry about the craggly edges. We can fix that very easily. And we're probably going to trim those off anyway. So just want to keep rotating it so it stays round-ish. And flour your board and flour your hands and flour your rolling pin. And don't go too crazy with the flour because dry out the dough, and also you don't want flecks of dough of flour on your beautiful pie crust. We're getting there. This one's not too hard to roll out. It's not super round, but it's roundish. We'll test it out here. See how we're doing. Not bad. I'm going to patch these edges together just by kind of pushing them together. Very easy to repair cracks. You don't want to manipulate it too much, but you certainly can piece it back together if you need to. All right, let's roll it out a little bit more. Push that together. We're almost there. Once again, you get a crack. You can wet your fingers and push it together. That also works. So let's get it in here. Just get it down all around. We're going to have a top crust, so you want to make sure it gets evenly around there. And we're going to just kind of push it into the sides. We're not going to get fancy till we get the top on. Okay. Just give it a little help around the edge. Squish it and squeeze it. And then we're going to trim it so it doesn't look so you want to kind of get it so that it's kind of sticking to the pie plate, so it's not gonna, helps it to not shrink. So I'm just gonna trim it. I have such vivid memories of my mom holding a pie plate like this and trimming around the edges of her pie. So this is going to go back in the fridge while I make our filling, and then I will roll out the, now you could save this if you wanted to like use a cookie cutter to like make some fall leaves or something for the top, make it fancy schmancy. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to make my filling. So I've got all my apples here. I believe I have enough. I didn't cut them all. I have one kind of reserved over there. If it doesn't look like enough, I'll throw that in. Okay, so I want to add half a cup of sugar. It got a little messy here. Not sure how that happened. My sugar is stuck together. Come on. Hopefully that's enough. Gets like that, you know, salt gets like that too. From summertime and humidity. That is a half a cup. And put that in there, and then we're going to get a half cup of brown sugar in there. It shouldn't be too bad. Not too tightly packed. That's my oven. I've got it on 375. Okay, that's going in there. And then we need teaspoon of cinnamon, of course. If you don't like it, leave it out. I gotta consult my little notes over here. We're gonna do a half nutmeg. Nutmeg can be kind of strong, so we're gonna do just a half. I think that was a half. It's all good. We need lemon zest. I've got half of a lemon zest, and I need salt. Of course, you always have to have salt. Even in your baking, you need salt. I need lemon juice. So I'm going to cut this, and where's my knife right in front of me? I love this juicer. I need only a little. That should do it. Get that little sense of it there, a little bit. Okay, I think I've got everything in there. Yeah. I consult my notes here. The memory ain't what it used to be. I just want to coat the apples. Not difficult to do at all. Toss it, and we're going to toss it into our pan here. This was going to go in the fridge, wasn't it? And I didn't put it in the fridge. Okay. All right. Well, that was too quick anyway. It wouldn't have been in there very long. Okay, so this looks like plenty. Although, I don't know if you haven't made an apple pie before, you will know that it will bake down and shrink way down. So don't, even if it's piled high, don't think it's too high. But this should be enough. I could get one more apple in there, but I think we're good. So I'm going to put that aside. I'm going to quickly roll out my other, my top, and get this baby in the oven so I can eat it. It's going to be a while. 45 minutes or so, maybe even a little longer. Okay. Now, as you know, a lot of apple pies have a beautiful lattice top, or they have a fancy schmancy top. I'm just going to do just a regular full top with some vent holes. I'm not going to get too fancy. Lattice work takes a little bit of time. It's not really difficult. It's just a matter of cutting the top crust into strips and then just weaving them together. You can do it separate and then transfer it, or you can try to do it on the pie. You know, whatever you want to try, if you dare. We're just going to do just a regular old traditional. Oddly, this one doesn't seem to be rolling out as good as the other one. I'm getting my cracks, so I'm going to stick those back together. And obviously, if you used store-bought dough, it would be a lot faster. Because making the dough and waiting and rolling out, you would eliminate all that. And nobody would know. But if you are a stickler for making your own homemade crust, and I sometimes am, not always. Sometimes I am perfectly okay with, nope, we're sticking. Don't need that. And we're cracking and we're sticking, and again, not a big deal. Not a big deal. We show the dough who is boss. Turn. We're almost there because doesn't need to be quite as big because we're not covering the bottom and coming up. So this is probably okay. Nope. Because this little weird area here is not cooperating, so we're gonna just roll it up a little more. Not there, just here. Need a little bit more width. I think we'll be good there. Okay, you can fast forward through that if you are so inclined. That should be okay. Do a little repair work. You just want to push it down into the dough that's already there, and we're gonna trim like we did. First, we're gonna make sure we're all covered. It's rustic. That's what you call something when it comes out a little bit homemade looking. You just say it's rustic. All right, so we're gonna give it a trim. And then we're going to make sure it's pressed down real good so it doesn't shrink too much. And we're going to vent it. We're going to egg wash it. Put a little sugar on top. I don't have any sanding sugar or coarse sugar, but all right, so in order to get it to kind of stick to the edges, this is what my mom did. She would use her finger and she would just press. You can see what I'm doing. You can use the back of a spoon, you know, like this. That's a fork, but you know what I'm saying. I like to use my fingers and just press it into the plate and squeeze the top and bottom crust together. And or you can use the tines of the fork, or you can just leave it. It doesn't have to be fancy at all. Not that this is really all that fancy. And one more. So you got that crimping around the edge, and now we need to get a different knife to do that. We need to vent it so the steam can come out. So we're going to put, I don't know, 3 holes, slits. And now we're going to egg wash it real quick. She looks kind of pretty. Let's hope that she doesn't sink too much. Egg wash, egg wash. I already had an egg fall on the floor and get everywhere, which was not fun. So we're just going to beat that real good. You don't want scrambled egg on top of your pie. You can thin it out with a little water if you need to. We're just gonna brush it lightly. And don't leave puddles of egg, because like I said, then you'll have scrambled eggs. Don't seal up those holes. Again, watch out for puddles. And I'm just going to sprinkle a little sugar. Like I said, you can get coarse sugar. It's better for this. It just kind of gives the crust a little extra, little crunch and a little sweetness. And for some reason it looks like I missed right there. And I got a little puddle. All right, I think we're good. This is going in the oven. I'm going to start it at 40 minutes and I'm going to look at it, and then probably going to be a good 45, 50 minutes. I'm going to put it on a cookie sheet so that if it bubbles over, which it probably won't, It won't get all over my oven. So I'm gonna get that in the oven. I'll pause and we'll be back. Okay, it was actually about 60 minutes in the oven. I checked it at 40, and I actually spun it around so it would bake evenly. Sometimes the edges will get a little bit dark. If that happens, you can put some foil around the edges, or they make pie shields that you can put. I have some, but I didn't need them, so I didn't take them out. But anyway, I can hear it bubbling. I got one little crack here, but no big deal. In the picture I'm seeing here, it looks a little light, but it's actually very golden brown and beautiful. So, and I should wait to cut it. You should let it sit for a while, but you know, for video purposes, I'm going to cut into it and have a piece. Because I deserve it, because I made it. Just gonna have a little piece. Now, it's very, 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 very hot. Bubbling like crazy. Yeah. Let's see. It is very liquidy because it didn't have time to thicken. So really let it sit. If you're going to serve it, you want to let it sit for a little while. So, you know, I know a lot of people like to eat this with ice cream, but I'm not going to be able to get this open. There we go. I like whipped cream. Whipped cream doesn't like me. Okay. So that was a mistake cutting it that early, but we won't talk about that. We're just going to take a bite. The apples are nice and tender. So yummy. You can't go wrong. Now the crust didn't collapse, which is good. And it didn't crack and it didn't shrink. I'm happy about that. And it's delicious. And hot. Okay. I'm gonna let that cool off a little bit. And I'm going to tell you about December. I'm making candy cane cookies. So they're sugar cookies that look like candy canes. And they're very fun to make, and they're fun to make with kids. So come back and see me in December and see how I make those cookies. And come check us out at the library. Check out all the other programs. We've got a lot of online programs too if you're not local. Check it out and see what we're up to. So I will see you again in December. Happy Thanksgiving.